Hey y'all. Welcome, welcome. Hello, hello. How's everybody doing tonight? Welcome to my stream. Happy Friday. Happy Friday evening. Thanks for spending some time with me tonight. Tonight is a very special stream. I'm so excited. Today I am proudly celebrating 8 years clean. This is 8 years of recovery for me today. And I am so excited to be here with you guys and spend some time. Tonight, I'm going to be sharing my whole story once again. I did it once before in a previous video. And if you guys want to go back and watch from 1 year ago, you could feel free. That video was titled Tara Tells All, Sit Down with the Countess, or An Evening with the Countess. And then there was a part two. But May 10th of 2016 is my clean date. And so today I'm going to be sharing my story of my experience, strength, and hope, what I went through, what it was like, how bad things got mentally, what it was like then, how I came to get clean, how I came to recover, and what it's like now. I'm so excited, you guys. I've been holding my stone in my hand that every time I speak on my recovery in the past few years, I've had the same stone that says gratitude. The stone was given to me when I was living in the sober house by the house manager there. And she said, I chose a word for each of you girls that I felt like you emanated and you had a lot of this, or it was something that you need to have more of. So this particular word was for me, and it was gratitude. And I'll be honest, I have a feeling that she chose this word for me of gratitude, not because I was so gracious, not because I was so humble, but because she felt that gratitude was something that I needed more of in my life. And I was so insulted. I was insulted because I knew, I mean, I didn't show her that I was insulted. I just graciously said, thank you. But in my head, I was like, I was like, okay, she purposely gave me this word gratitude because she feels I'm ungrateful, when meanwhile, I am so grateful. I took offense to it because I felt that I was extremely grateful. I just want to play with the lighting a little bit. Hey guys. We have different color lights over here on my desk. This is green, blue. Let me stay like this. Yellow, blue, and purple. Let's see. Kind of like that. Maybe I should shut my TV on. I'm not sure if this will even work, but we'll try it. Let's see. No, it doesn't work. Sorry. That'll go off to a Roku screen soon. Hey, Meow Now. Welcome. Good to see you. How's it going? Happy Friday. So this word, gratitude, I felt insulted that the house manager chose this word for me because I knew that it was like a personal dig or an insult, that she felt it was something that I needed more of, as if I was not showing enough gratitude. And at the time, in the situation I was in, I felt like I was giving more than enough gratitude. I felt like I was so beyond gracious and humble that it was ridiculous. You would even imply that I needed more, because that's where my ego was at during that time. My ego was so huge. You guys wouldn't believe it, because I consider myself to be a pretty humble person now. And I hope that that's the case. I strive to be humble. But my ego was so huge, so blown completely out of proportion when I was active, that I considered everything to be a ridiculous notion, as if the rules don't apply to me. And anything that anybody else in the world would do to achieve what they wanted or their responsibilities, or everything was a ridiculous insult to me because I felt I was so much above everything and all rules of society. I felt like all rules of society were a laugh, and that, most people just can't figure out how to get away with things, but surely I was able to. And I'll be honest with you guys. I think a lot of what I saw in Michelle, of what I identified in Michelle as a friend, or whatever it was that I saw in her as a person, I think that some of it came from the huge ego that I had when I was active in my addiction, and how I felt like all the rules don't apply to me, that I could understand where Michelle is coming from. I can understand that, feeling like you can do whatever you want, and like, even if everybody else can't do it, you can still do it because like you're Michelle. And that's how I used to feel. So tonight I'm going to go into everything. I want to talk to you guys about my whole life story, if you're interested. I want to share with you guys how bad things got for me in the throes of my addiction, and how I came to believe that a power greater than myself could restore me to sanity, and about how things are now, 8 years in, 8 years into recovery. I'm so proud of myself, you guys. Cheers. Got my teacup. So I'll start out with a little prayer, and I'll say the serenity prayer for myself and for everybody that might be watching. Okay. Get into a positive headspace. And I hope that in sharing my story, guys, please share out this video. Share it on your community tab. Feel free. You can share it on your personal Facebook, Instagram, whatever it is. I don't mind being put out there at all. As a matter of fact, I would greatly appreciate it if you would. Hey, Valley Girl. Great to see you. Welcome. So good to see you, Valley Girl. Thanks for coming in. I hope that this video makes it to the people that need to hear this message. I know that I don't have a lot of viewers. I know I have an extremely small channel, but I'm hoping that possibly somebody who needs to hear the message might get it tonight. And that's what it's all about. And it's been such a long time since I've had the opportunity and the privilege to be able to share my story to a group of people. I used to go to AA. I did AA and I did NA. Now, I'll be honest, NA was not my cup of tea. It was just not for me. I just wasn't comfortable. But I did find a wonderful, there's a rich world of friends, of people that are from all different walks of life. And you'll find lots of really respectable people with good careers and good marriages, and just, nice, decent people that you'd want to be friends with. People that set a good example to be a role model for you in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, in my opinion. I know there's also a wonderful world in NA. It was just not my preference, so I won't really, talk about it. But AA I loved, and I got a lot out of it, especially the AA meetings in the nicer neighborhoods. You'll find a better group of people to relate to. So I miss the AA meetings. I used to share often, and every time I did, I felt nervous. Nervous, but also I felt as if I was fulfilling an inner obligation. It's something in me that I know I have to share my story, and when I don't share it, I just feel selfish and isolated, and as if I should be sharing. So I love to do it. I'm excited, and please feel free to share this video on your Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, whatever it is. Get it out there to your family and friends. Possibly somebody is still struggling right now in silence, in the darkness. And I want to let them know that you don't have to. And we do recover. We do recover. It may seem insurmountable, and it may seem as if you could never possibly see the light at the end of the tunnel, but the light is there. You just have to look for it. Please look for it. Please look for it. So I'm going to start with a prayer. Say, God, grant us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, the courage to change the things we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And I'll get into it. My name is Tara, and I am an addict in recovery. Today I celebrate 8 years clean. 8 years clean. You guys know, most of you guys know that my drug of choice was opiates and benzos. That is the drug that I consider of what did me in life, was the big H. And I got very carried away with pills. They were prescribed to me in my early 20s. They were prescribed to me for anxiety. I had a Klonopin prescription. And once I got that, immediately, like the first or the second time that I filled them, I was never able to take it the right way. I was mixing it with alcohol, and my goal was just to take it to get high. It was like, oh, wow, these are happy pills. These are fun. You want to take 2 of these. And so, that's not where my story starts, though. So I started experimenting with substances at a very young age. Honestly, I smoked my first cigarette when I was 9 years old. And then, of course, weed and alcohol and that stuff, from a really young age. And I was just telling my husband last night, we since I quit smoking weed, today I have 10 days clean off weed. Today I have 10 days free of THC. And that was something that I wanted to do. It was just a personal challenge, a 30-day challenge. And my main objective was to save money. I needed to save money because we're going on vacation next month. We're going to Hersheyland. We're going to Hershey, Pennsylvania for 2 nights. And then we're going to spend 2 nights in Amish Dutch country. So I needed to save money. So I said, I'm just going to quit smoking weed for the month, and I'm going to save up a lot of money. And in doing so, within the first day of not having it, it was a huge struggle. It was very, very difficult for me to do it. And I realized that that was actually holding me back a lot in my own life. That was just keeping me isolated, keeping me stuck, keeping me not able to get on the phone, not able to go live. I feel that it was creating a lot of social anxiety and making it easier for me to isolate. So in giving that up, I feel that I'm going to open up a lot of new doors, and I'm going to open up a lot of new opportunities for myself in life. And I will be able to manifest a lot of things in my life that I haven't seemed to been able to figure out before. I couldn't figure out how to level up. I couldn't figure out how to advance myself. And I think that the answers are going to become a lot clearer. But I started really young. Yeah, I was 9 years old. And I don't know, I started smoking cigarettes in the bathroom. I would steal one from my mom's pack and go in the bathroom with a book of matches. And I would smoke in the bathroom with the exhaust fan on. And I was just telling Vinny last night, we bought the root beer in the brown bottle. The root beer is in the glass brown bottle. I think the brand is called IBC. And I was telling him, it was like I had a memory unlocked, like new memory unlocked. I was remembering something from when I was younger. And it was me and my best friend growing up. And we were about 10 years old. And we used to go to the corner store and buy the brown glass bottles of root beer. And we go back to our house and turn on the disco light and put on the rock music and pretend we're drinking beers and smoking our candy cigarettes too. We thought we were so cool and groovy. And that was like the best time to pretend we were getting drunk. We'd be like, it's Miller time with our root beers, And it was like a memory unlocked. And I was like, okay. So from an early age, part of me just wanted to be pretending to get drunk and pretending to get high and pretending to party, that was like instilled in me of wanting to. We used to pretend we're at a bar, like let's play bar, and we would set up our fake drinks, even with the maraschino cherry and the Sprite and the champagne glass, and it was just so fun. It's weird how we want to be older. Oh, Valley Girl, that was all I wanted. When I was like 9 or 10 years old, I used to try to walk in these stiletto heels. I bought a pair of high heels. They were like 4-inch heels. And I used to try to walk in them. I'd put on my high heels. We'd get our candy cigarettes and our fake drinks or the root beer in the brown bottle, put on the strobe light and the music, and we'd just be dancing and partying and pretending we were at a bar getting lit. Thanks, Bell Bell. Thank you so much. I am. I am really proud. I am. And I'm so excited to be able to share with the next person because I haven't had an opportunity to sit down and share my story as I would like to because I haven't been to an AA meeting in forever. Now, that's mainly just because of the area that I live in and the hernia that I had. It was just impractical. But I should get to a meeting like in Manhattan or something soon. I really should. Hopefully, I will. Hopefully, I will. I laugh when I say that now because we do that to ourselves all the time. Hopefully, I will. Hopefully, I'll do this. Hopefully, I'll do that. And now I laugh a little bit because I know that's not the case anymore. I don't hope that I'm going to do anything. I don't hope that I'm going to be able to do anything. I simply decide that I'm going to do it, or I don't decide that I'm going to do it. But if I'm going to do it, I shouldn't have to hope that I'll really follow through. If I'm hoping that I'll really follow through, that means I have a bigger problem than I think. Because if I'm hoping that I'll follow through, that means that I can't trust myself. That means that I can't trust myself. When I tell myself I'll do something, I question whether or not it's true. That is bullshit. I call bullshit. You guys, I can't with that bullshit. If anybody heard, I don't know what that was, but I heard Jenny Jen. Something with like Amanda Panda was saying bullshit. And now when I listen to Jenny's intro, I can't get enough with the bullshit with that bullshit. Bullshit. The old brown root beer bottles that kind of look like Budweiser. Talking about mind tricks you when you were younger, right? Isn't it so weird? Isn't it really weird? And I was thinking about that. And I was like, all right, so part of me always wanted that. Always couldn't wait to grow up, couldn't wait to get older. Bullshit. And so, like my teenage years, I was wild. I was wild. I was a party girl, and I loved it. I loved it. I'm not sure I would really change it if I could. I'll be honest. I'm not sure I would change it. I had a wild time in my teenage years. I was extremely young when I lost my virginity. I was extremely young when I started tripping on acid. Um, just lots of different things. Basically, all the things. All the things. By the time I was 14, it was on. Like I said, I'm not sure I would change it. It was a wild ride, and I had a lot of fun. I put myself also in a lot of dangerous situations. I took rides home from strangers. I was going out to nightclubs when I was 13. Now, another thing that pisses me off is that I was going out to nightclubs when I was 13 and I had a fake ID. Haven't drank in 2 years, maybe. Oh, well. Oh, 20 years, not two. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Bell, did you purposely stop drinking or have you just like happened to not drink in 20 years? Because some people just are like, oh, wow, I haven't had a drink in 10 years. And they didn't have a drinking problem. They just didn't think to have one. That's awesome, Bell. Yeah, I don't like drinking. I don't like drinking. I don't even like alcohol in my house, to be honest. I tell Vinny, I don't like to have it in the house. It just creates like a wild, raunchy kind of atmosphere that we don't need right now in our lives. We have a young child and he doesn't drink really anyway. But I don't have it in the house. Like we don't have a beer or wine or nothing. No. If I wanted to, I would. Oh, wait, I'm lying. We had that bottle of Prosecco. I think we still have it. Stopping in to say hello, Taryn. Congratulations. Hey, mods in chat. Have a great evening, everyone. Thank you, Clover. Thanks. Thank you so much. Great to see you. I really appreciate it. Thank you. 8 years. So I got into everything from a really young age. And me and my friend, I guess I won't, name names or whatever. Me and my best friend, we'll call her Nicole. Me and Nicole, that was my best friend, but that's not really her name. um, you had a thing going of we heard that if you tripped on acid more than 3 times, you would be declared legally insane. And so it was, so fun for us that we were like, oh, we've tripped 25 times. Surely we're insane in the membrane by now. Oh boy, we used to go to the bowling alley because it was like one of the few places where you could sit indoors and smoke, and you'd be able to sit like at the snack bar. And we would sit there and order like a thing of cheese fries and be sitting there smoking our cigarettes all night long. I have a funny story with that actually. One time, me and Nicole went into the bowling alley, and it was the middle of the winter, and we went in around like 8 or 9 o'clock at night, which was our average usual time to start out our evening on a Friday night. We always started out our Friday and Saturday nights at like 8, 9 o'clock. Um, so we probably had like popped our tabs on the way to the bowling alley as we were walking there. It took about 40 minutes to walk there. So this way, by the time we were getting there, we'd just be getting hit. So we got to the bowling alley, say 9 o'clock, and it was the dead of winter, and it had just started snowing. It had just started snowing a little bit. And I'm wondering what year it was. It must have been 1996. It sure was, because it was the blizzard of 96. It was the blizzard of 1996. If anybody remembers the blizzard of 1996, this is what I was doing. Me and Nicole went into the bowling alley around 9 o'clock at night. It was a Friday night, I believe, because they had Friday night rock and roll bowling, where they would have the disco lights and the rock music. And you would pay, I think it was $8. Dude, it was $8. You would pay $8 and have unlimited bowling, with rock and roll bowling with the disco light. And it was a really good time. I swear I want to go bowling again. Woods parties. Oh my God, Bell, I'm jealous because we didn't ever I never had a woods party because I've always been a city girl. I've always been a city girl, Brooklyn. If I was even upstate, we would have had woods parties. It's not too late. It's not too late, you guys. I think I'm having a midlife crisis, Bell. I want to go to a woods party. It does sound so fun, though. Woods parties. I didn't know they were a thing. I recently learned about them. They seem to pop up all the time in my YouTube shorts. I have a girl that always comes up in my YouTube shorts. And oh, that's awesome. I'm jealous. She always comes up in my YouTube shorts and she like relives the 90s. She's like a nostalgia girl or something. She does these skits where she pretends it's like she'll be like some random Friday night in 2006 or something, or in, I don't know. And she's always like in the woods with her friends. I need to go to a woods party, Bell. And anybody that tells you that you become dull or boring or not as much fun in sobriety, that is so not true. Because I feel like I've had more fun and more wild times, though, in my sobriety and recovery than I ever did when I was using. And that's a fact. That is a fact. Absolutely. All of that good energy comes back to you. But so that was when I was a teenager. Oh, so the story, I'm sorry, I didn't finish my main point of the story. So we went in around 9 o'clock. Oh, that sounds awesome, Bell. Oh my God, we never had like a bonfire party. You go from car to car for your beers. Oh man. That really sounds fun. I love it. So what happened was that we were sitting in the bowling alley from 9 o'clock at night up until about say 1:30 in the morning. Around 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning, I guess, was when the bowling alley closed. Because they weren't a nightclub. They weren't open till 4. Yeah, they used to close around 1:30, 2 o'clock. And when they closed, we went outside and I looked at her and she looked at me. And when we went in at 9 o'clock, it was just starting to snow. It was just a sprinkling. So so about 4 to 5 hours we were sitting in there. About 4 to 5 hours. And oh my God. In 4 to 5 hours, it was enough snow. It was at least 2 feet of snow. At least 2 feet, maybe three, possibly even four. Because the blizzard of 96, I think we got maybe 5 feet of snow. We had, I think, 5 feet of snow in Brooklyn in 96, the blizzard of 96. Boone's Farm strawberry. Boone's Farm. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Then I remember, what was the other one? Arbor Mist. I used to like Arbor Mist. And then when I got to be in my 20s, I graduated to the boxed wine, the Franzia. If it was white, you could leave it in the fridge. If it was red, you could put it under the bed. Red goes under the bed. Remember that one? I used to keep a box of red wine under my bed. That's sick. Oh my God, it was really funny though. Hey, Rojo. Thank you so much. Thank you, Rojo. I appreciate it. Thanks. Thank you. Yeah, that was bugged out. Sitting in the bowling alley for 4 to 5 hours and coming out, and there was like at least 3 feet of snow. And we were tripping our balls off. And we had to walk home about 30 blocks. The walk home was a little more than a mile. So we had to walk about 30 blocks or so in about 3 feet of snow, at least. Yeah, it was probably 3 feet. It was a lot of snow because we were walking and like, I remember, I remember having to like lift our legs with each step, like all the way up, like as if we were marching because it was these giant piles of snow. And then I remember walking down the street and it was about 2 a.m. and there were some old people that were shoveling their snow. And we looked at each other, we looked at them, we we're like, what's the point? There's no use. There's no use. And we're just laughing. Oh my God. We were ridiculous. We were really ridiculous. Oh my God. So ridiculous. If we were smart, we would have went home, grabbed our dad's shovels, and went around door to door offering to shovel for people, but we didn't. We were not that smart. If we were smart, that would have been friggin' awesome. I feel like my mom probably told me though, like, girls don't shovel because she didn't want me to hurt myself. Even if I would have done it, my mom would have been like, girls don't go and shovel the snow. Boys do that because she was so afraid I would hurt myself. But I could have done it the same as any boy could have. I was strong. I was very strong and sturdy. Yeah, I could have done it. Gonna get ready for bed. I'll be on later. Love you too, Bell Bell. Thank you so much. Thanks. Thank you, Bell Bell. Love you. Valley Girl. Oh, yeah. My parents knew. Oh, yeah. My parents knew. I mean, my mom, my mom was way cool. My mom was way cool. She she knew that we smoked pot and stuff, and she was okay with that. But if she would have really known that we were on acid, she would have been pissed. So I think like every time we were on acid and we knew we were about to get caught or that I was going to have to speak to my mom or something like weird, we would usually go and fess up to something smaller. Aw, thank you, Bell Bell. I appreciate. Yes, everybody, please hit the thumbs up. I greatly appreciate it if you would give this video a like. Thank you so much. And if you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing to the channel. Thank you. Thanks, Bell Bell. Yeah. So, like, every time we knew that we were going to have to face my mom or her mom or some weird situation arose, we would usually go to the parents and confess to something smaller. So we knew that we were going to be pegged for something. So we would go and we would, instead of them calling us out and being like, "What are you on?" We would just go to them and be like, "Oh, so we drank a couple of Zimas tonight." Zimas, remember Zima? We drank a couple of Zimas and, we're a little bit tipsy. So I'm sorry. I just wanted to let you know so you're not mad at me. We would go and confess right off the bat to something lesser than what we did. We thought we were so smart. Really, I thought I was so smart. And I was pretty clever. That is pretty smart for a kid to do. I think we're only like 12 or 14. We were young. Zima. Yes, Valley Girl. The year was 1996. Yeah, we were drinking Zima, and I was telling Vinny about bath oil beads. I ordered from Amazon a thing of retro bath oil beads, and they're all different shapes, like dolphins and stars, all retro bath oil beads. And I'm going to use them when we go on vacation because I know if I use them here, it'll make my tub too slippery. My mom bans me from using bath oil beads in the 90s. It was such a thing. It was such a thing. It's like, Tara, did you use bath oil beads again, you mother? Because it made the tub so slippery that she just couldn't clean it. Oh my goodness. The 90s were the best time to be alive. I don't know if I would want to go back. I mean, I guess I would want to go back if I knew then what I know now. Oh, speaking of the 90s, if anybody's looking for a good show to watch on Hulu, I started watching a show called Under the Bridge, and it's set in the 90s in British Columbia, Canada, which is absolutely gorgeous, and I must go visit there ASAP. I will go visit there ASAP. I'm going to Canada. Kimberly, I'm coming for you. I know you watched the replay, Kimberly. I'm coming to Canada soon. I want to see British Columbia. It looks beautiful. So gorgeous. So it's a really good show on Hulu called Under the Bridge. And it's set in the 90s and it's loosely based on a true story. And it's about bullying teenage girls. And the story is of a 14-year-old girl that was bullied to her demise, to her end. And it's really, really good. I've been loving it. So far, there's 5 episodes, and a new one comes out. It drops every Tuesday at midnight. So I've been doing the countdown until Tuesday at midnight. Tuesday is my night now. Anybody wants to watch Under the Bridge, it is an amazing show. That's set in the 90s. It's set in the 90s. So, like, if you remember the 90s fondly, you'll love the show. Yeah, Valley Girl. And the soundtrack is all great 90s music. And even, like, the product placements, you'll notice, like, in their bathrooms and stuff, all of the tags on all the products are the same as they were in the 90s. It's really, really cool. And it's interesting. Very interesting. Sad, but interesting. Under the Bridge on Hulu. I highly recommend it. Yeah, it's good. So, anyways, I know I'm all over the place. That's just me. Thank you for bearing with me. So, like, my teenage years, we had a lot of fun. It was basically me and my best friend, and I didn't have like a large group of friends. I just hung out with her. I always had just that one best friend or a couple of close friends. So then our relationship fizzles out. We went to different high schools, and she went to a Catholic high school and just had a totally different group of friends. And I didn't want her hanging out with them. I became very jealous and possessive. And I said, well, I don't want you hanging out with other people. I just want you to hang out with me. And she was like, Tara, what the hell? Like, that's ridiculous. And So we had a fight over it, and she was going to have different friends regardless. And I had that jealousy and that possessiveness, even of my friends. Unfortunately, from a young age, I had to learn a lot about that, you know. Yeah, never quite got over it. I was that same way with my husband, but up until, a few years ago when I just, when you've been with someone for that long, thankfully, my husband has allowed for me to feel confident enough in myself and in our relationship to not have that possessiveness anymore, Now I would laugh. I don't have that jealousy or possessiveness over him whatsoever anymore. I would send him out to dinner with another woman. I wouldn't care less. I know I trust him. He trusts me, everything. We're copacetic on our understanding. And I have a better understanding of male female relationships now as well. But I mean, when we were first going out, I was extremely possessive though and jealous and didn't want him talking to anybody else or anything. Yeah. So that was something that I had to work through a lot in life, to understand you can't be that way with someone when you're friends with somebody or in a relationship with somebody. You can't do that. If they want to only be with you, then they're only going to be with you. But if they don't, then they're not going to, and there's nothing at all that you can do about it. So, and when you're married, it's different. So I'm married, so we're all good. But you know, I went through a lot of that possessiveness, a lot of that feeling like I don't want you to have other friends than me. I don't know why. I just struggled with it. And I had an older sister growing up. It wasn't just me. I have a sister that's 6 years older than me. Unfortunately, we don't talk. Hey, Bliss Kingsley, thank you. Thank you so much. So good to see you, Bliss Kingsley. Thank you. I feel good. I feel good. It's been six years. I was gonna say it's been 6 years since my surgery. It's been 6 months since my surgery and 8 years in recovery. Oh yeah, I struggled a lot with those insecurities, Valley Girl, that it impacted every area of my life. Not just relationships, but friendships as well. Absolutely. And then there was school. Like school was fun and I did really well in school. I was always in all honors classes. Even in high school, I was on the honor roll with English and science and social studies. I think everything but math. I always struggled with math the most, but English was my favorite subject. It still is. And oh, thank you, Bliss Kingsley. Thank you so much. I feel I feel the glow from the inside, I'll be honest. I feel my energy raised. I feel like my frequency and the vibration has raised. And I think that giving up the weed has a lot to do with it. It was bringing me down. It doesn't bring everybody down. Some people, it actually does what it's supposed to. But I feel it was just having an adverse reaction on me. I smoked forever my whole life. I was a daily heavy, heavy smoker. And especially in recovery, that was the one thing that I allowed myself. And I was like, I'm just going to be 420 friendly and call it Cali sober, and to each their own. If this is going to be my pathway, everybody has their own pathway to recovery, which is very, very true. And you can't tell anybody that they're not in recovery if they claim to be. So if you tell me that you're in recovery, I have no right to question it or to tell you, that your way is not as good as mine. There's many different pathways. And so for me, the 420 friendly thing was my saving grace for a long time, but it was bringing me down. It was enabling me to isolate and be stuck in my head. I had to. I had to. Yeah. It was just not good for me. So today I have 10 days free of THC and it's just changing the whole way that I think. But to think 8 years, on May 10th of 2016, that was the day that my life changed. That was the day that my life changed. It's really incredible when I think about it because things got really bad for me. Like in my teenage years, it was a lot of fun and I had a blast. And then so me and Nicole stopped being friends around high school. Now that was ninth grade. And at that time, I started hanging out with a group of guys, of grown men that my sister had been friends with. So I have a sister that's 6 years older than me. And unfortunately, we don't speak. We don't have a relationship right now. I haven't had a relationship with her in about 15 years. Hey, Gotti girl. Oh my goodness. Thank you. Thank you so much, Gotti girl. I love you. Oh, I really appreciate it. Thank you. Oh, I love you, Gotti girl. Mwah. I hope all is well with you, hon. Thank you. Likewise, babe. You too. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. Thanks. So, like, I haven't had a relationship with my sister in probably about 15 years. When my mom passed away, I was 23. So, I was 23 years old when I lost my mom. And, like, during that time, I was drinking heavily every single day. And my sister was not. My sister was living a very normal lifestyle, and she was able to come into the house and help care for my mom towards the end, and I resented her for it a lot. I felt like I didn't want her in my house, and how dare you come in and agree with all this stuff that mommy is passing. I wouldn't agree with it. My mom got stage 4 lung cancer, and she found out that she had stage 4 lung cancer, and she told us about it. And the doctors gave her 6 months to live. And 5 months later, she passed away. So she found out about it. The doctor said, we give you about 6 months to live. And 5 months later, she passed away. Yeah. And my sister came into the house to help care for my mom. And being that I was drinking heavily, me and my sister were fighting a lot. She felt like I should be doing more. I felt like she should be doing less. Like, get the hell out of my house. Stop trying to go along with this whole charade. I was telling everybody that they were all crazy. Nothing was going on. My mom was not sick and she was not going to pass. Yeah. Just total denial. Total denial. And I kept telling my mom, like, if you don't believe it, then, you'll live longer. Just don't believe it. You can't believe it. And also at that time, I was so desperate that I don't know if any of you guys remember Peter Popoff Ministries. I was such a desperate idiot. At that time, I was very stupid. And I was contacting Peter Popoff Ministries with the Miracle Spring Water. He's like, I'll send you a Miracle Spring Water. And when you stay up late and you watch the infomercials, Lauren, thank you so much. Thank you, Lauren. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Peter Popoff, right? With the Miracle Spring Water. And he would have the infomercials late at night with the Miracle Spring Water. And he had testimonials of people saying that they had cancer and they took the Miracle Spring Water and they were healed of it and all this stuff. And I started sending him money and contacting him and begging him for help. And he was sending the Miracle Spring Water. And then he sends a miracle oil with these ridiculous instructions, like put it under your pillow and, put it under your pillow and spin it around 12 times and then make a wish and then send me $12. Like, really ridiculous instructions. But there I was doing it, hoping and praying. Yeah, I was desperate for a miracle. And I believed that if my mom would only believe it, then she would not pass. So that was sad, but I was desperate and young and, drinking. So my sister was really resentful of me because I was being crazy and, not helpful, not helpful. And I felt like, I wanted her out of our house. And she was, just like, it was not good. It was not good. And yeah, so after my mom passed, we didn't speak at all, my sister and I. And sorry. I had sorry. Evelyn was passing by behind me, and I don't think she's dressed. So no, we're good. Okay. Oh my God, the miracle water. I have to just let my mind go off sometimes. I don't know. The miracle water. What's funny is I did that like 10 years ago, and I just got an email from him after 10 years. It's so weird you mentioned him. Holy crap, Lauren. It really is. Lauren, that's crazy. It's so crazy. It's synchronicity. It's synchronicity of things like, that is so weird. He had an evil look to his eyebrows, too. He had those evil eyebrows. That was when I graduated from boxed wine to Bacardi. And once I switched to Bacardi and Diet Coke, it was on because I could really, really, really drink that. And it was out of control. Alcohol is what became a huge problem for me when my mom was sick. But before that, like, okay, so me and my best friend that I was calling Nicole, we stopped talking around ninth grade. And that was when I started hanging out with the group of older men, grown men, that my sister was friends with. So she was friends with this group of older men that hung out in the park every night, and they hung out with the radios, and they would set up the radios at the park bench on the table and get their beers, their cans of Fosters and Tall Boys and St. Ides 40s or whatever, Budweiser, I don't know, Colt 45. We used to have the Colt 45, 22 ounces for 99 cents, or Bud Ice. Such memories unlocked. What about there was St. Ides mixers? There was St. Ides mixers. It was 22 ounces. We used to call them the 22s. I got a couple of 22s, and you go get the 22s of St. Ides mixers. Like pina colada was one, and strawberry daiquiri was another one, and it was a flavored malt beverage. Those 22s, I used to go and get two of them at the beginning of each night. And I was only 14, and I would go and get two of them and sit in the park with this group of grown men. Grown men. They were all 28 years old. They were 28, and I was 14. Um, and we would sit in the park with our beers and our weed, passing around joints and pipes and whatnot with the radio. And usually they hang out every night from like 7:30, 8 o'clock until about midnight. And then I would go home and eat some snacks or whatever and go to bed. And then I would just wake up and go to school the next day. And my mom said, all right, listen, as long as you go to school and as long as you're passing all your classes, doing your homework, doing what you're supposed to do whatever you want. But if I came home and I looked messed up on something other than weed, it was a problem, even if she thought I had been drinking. So I tried to cover up the drinking all the time. I was, just mints and spray and whatever because she didn't like drinking, but she thought weed was okay because that was really normal. Like the way I grew up, there was weed around. Like my parents would just pass joints around the table with company. Like it was just a normal thing. It was just a normal thing. It wasn't like an intoxicant type of thing. I don't know. It was just part of life. My parents, were kind of like hippies, I guess, in the 70s or whatever. And then my mom was really cool. She stayed a hippie in spirit, I think. Part of her would have stayed a hippie in spirit. And I know she's going to be proud of me now with what I'm learning to do with the spell work and stuff because she was always really interested in the occult and stuff like that. That's funny, Lauren. Peter Popoff. Isn't it weird? It is so weird. So, let's see. Let me come back to my thought. Okay. Okay. So we stopped being friends and I'm hanging out with them. Now they're a group of grown men. They're all 28 years old and I was 14. And, you know, they knew how old I was because I was so and so's sister, And I say for the most part, they tried to keep an eye on me and keep me from getting into any real trouble, any real bigger trouble than what I was already doing. So I did get lucky in that aspect, that they did try to keep an eye on me and just make sure that I wasn't going to get into any serious trouble, like in trouble with the law or trouble where I got hurt or worse. Yeah. 3 days ago, I'm like, where did this guy come from? I thought I heard that he was arrested for something, that he was caught for scamming, that there was something going on where his wife was pre-reading the cards that people filled out when they got to the studio. Like they used to hold these things in a studio, like a studio type church room. I don't know. And people would go there and they would write down like their most concerning issues or something on these cards in a screen room before they go into the main room where they're going to film. And then his wife would take the cards with the people's info, and Peter Popoff had the ear thing, and she would talk into the other end and say, okay, so Mrs. Smith, her husband just passed and such and, blah, blah, blah. So he would get the info on the people that way from his wife talking into the thing that was in his ear. And she was telling him information that the people wrote down on those cards they filled out when they first got to the studio. I did hear that. I wouldn't repeat it if I wasn't sure I heard it. Yeah, I did. Well, I knew he was a fake. I knew it. Part of me deep down, even when I was sending him money and begging him to save my mom, I knew he was a fake then too. I was just desperate. I have to do some research on him. Let's see what the email says. LOL. Maybe he needs money to get out of jail. I so wonder. Maybe that was like years ago and he's already out, because that was a few years ago. It was at least 2 years ago. At least 2 years ago that I heard that. It's so funny. So I got lucky in the fact that that group of men that was hanging out with me were kind of, looking out for me in a way that, some people wouldn't. So I did get lucky in that respect, because my sister stopped hanging out with them. She was hanging out with them all the time. And then I guess she got a different job or something and she stopped hanging out with them. And then so I was still coming around, and that was my friends, that was my group of friends. That only lasted about 2 years though. So say from 14 to 16. And so from 14 to 16, that was pretty much my life, was going to high school. And I went to school most of the time. I used to cut out a lot too. But I went to school a lot, and I went to school often enough that I would pass my classes at least. So I was going to high school and I was hanging out with these guys in the park almost every night, hanging out, just drinking and smoking. And then on the weekends, I would still trip a lot by myself on the weekends, or with my sister. So weekends were always for tripping. So already from such a young age, at the age of 13 or 14, I had it in my head that the weekends were a special time that you were allowed to be intoxicated. The weekends were a special time and you look forward to the weekends so that you can get high. More high than you do all week. So all week you just smoke and drink, but then on the weekends you get to trip out. It's so sick. But that was my thinking from a very young age. And it was every Friday and Saturday too. It wasn't even just one, like just Friday. It was Friday and Saturday. So those are my weekends. And then I stopped going to school at some point around 16. I felt like it was just too much. And I made a few friends in high school. I made a few friends. I had one best friend that was a guy that I'll call him Jorge, because that's what I called him last time I shared my story. I called him Jorge. And we were best friends, and we would hang out in some like alleyway, or we would hang out behind the sanitation department. There was like a big parking garage type situation behind the sanitation department, and there was like a broken fence, like that it was kind of like a cup shape, like a C shape or U shape of a broken fence. And we would all sit on the fence, you know, broken fence. We would just sit down. It was like we had chairs, like a little lounge area. We would sit on the broken fence behind the sanitation department. If my mom only knew that I was leaving in the morning saying bye and then going to sit behind the sanitation department, sometimes even by myself, sometimes alone. And that was the sick part. Like, it's one thing if you're cutting out and you're with other people, you're with friends, and you guys are smoking or doing something. But when you're playing hooky, to hang out by yourself all alone in an alleyway or something, it's like, what on earth? Why are you doing this? Yeah. And most of the time, what I wanted to do was to just sit by myself and smoke pot and read or write. I would read for hours, all different books and stuff, or I would write in my notebook. I had so many notebooks full of my writing. I considered myself, a poet, that I like to write poetry. I'm not sure I ever wrote any real meaningful poetry, but I tried my best and I enjoyed it. I'm going to go back to it, actually. I'm going to go back to doing it. I haven't wrote a lot in my adult life. I haven't spent a lot of time writing. And I kind of fancied myself a writer all throughout my teens, that I wanted to refer to myself as a poet and felt that poetry was a big part of me. I guess I did write a few nice pieces, but nothing that I would consider like something to really write home about. But I'm gonna go back to writing because I enjoyed it. And I also want to be able to write scripts for videos. Like when I talk about cults or when I talk about like celebrity gossip and stuff, I want to be able to write a script for my video and then either try to memorize it or have it on the screen in front of me and do a pre-recorded video where I'm just reading from my scripts. So I'm going to try that too and see how it goes. But I definitely fancied myself a writer, and I felt like, I don't know, like that was what I was supposed to be doing, was sitting by myself and just smoking some reefer and writing in my notebook, like I was a beatnik or a hippie, like I belonged in a coffee shop playing the bongos. Jazz. You guys know what I'm talking about. Yeah. So, Valley Girl. Yeah. And so I sat drinking my coffee usually and smoking and writing. A lot of writing and a lot of reading. A lot of reading. A lot of celebrity books I like to read. I remember I loved reading the Marilyn Manson book, his autobiography, The Long Hard Road Out of Hell. That was one of my favorites to read as a teenager. And there was an autobiography on Courtney Love too. That was Courtney Love, The Real Story by Poppy Z. Bright. I read that a lot. And what's the other ones? Jim Morrison, Wilderness. Jim Morrison Wilderness, that collection of poetry is simply unmatched, in my opinion. If you've never checked out Jim Morrison Wilderness and you enjoy poetry writing, you might like it. Well, you will like it. I think you'll like it. um, and what else? Oh, and then when Kurt's journals were released, I got those, but that was later in life. I think I was 18 or 19. And I never fully read them. I felt really guilty reading Kurt's journals, but I wanted to. So I bought the book, but I wouldn't fully read them. And I never fully did. I read some, but definitely not all. I felt guilty because Kurt never consented to put them out there. Although part of me knows, as someone that is a writer, I might as well get back in touch with that side of myself because that side of myself didn't go away. I just disregarded it. So maybe it is still there. But I know that as someone who writes, like anytime you write something down in a journal or in a notebook or on a napkin, anytime you write something down, deep down that someone might see it. you know that someone might see it. Although I do feel like it's intrusive. I don't know. Like I wouldn't read someone else's notebook, I just would never do it. I just couldn't. Yeah. Even my husband, and I felt so possessive of him and everything, but if he had a notebook or something, I wouldn't touch it. Although I'm sure he would tell me to read it, but I couldn't. Like if Evelyn kept a diary or something, I would never read it. That's something that I wouldn't say I'm good for. Yeah, you could trust me with that. I won't read your stuff. I just can't. I just feel so dirty and gross, because I know, like, if I wrote something down and I really hoped that someone wouldn't see it, although that part of you knows that someone might. You know that someone might if you're writing it down. And now with my spell work that I'm about to start doing, at each spell that I do, I'm going to write it down. I'm going to document everything. So, would you ever manifest this with your sister? Yeah. I wish that I could, Lauren. I keep saying that I'm going to write a letter and I haven't done it yet. I should really do it tonight and stop effing around. I've said even a year ago when I shared my story and people asked me then, would you reconnect with your sister? And I said, yeah, I would love to. As a matter of fact, I should write her a letter. And I didn't do it then. I need to do it now. Seven Swans Black Art. Seven Swans Black Art. I got you all mixed up, girly. I love you. Thank you. Thank you. So good to see you, Seven Swans. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thanks. I love you, girly. Thank you. Thank you so much. Guys, as you're coming in, please hit that like button. I see only 8 likes. Let's get those likes up, people. Please. I would greatly appreciate it if you could hit the thumbs up. Thank you. Aw, it's so good to see you, Seven Swans. I hope everything is good with you. So, yeah, 8 years. May 10th of 2016 is my clean date. Yes, and I never intend on changing it. I never plan on changing it. I remember when I first made 1 year clean, and I celebrated at an AA meeting, and they told me, may you never have to do 1 year again. May you never have to do your first year ever again. And may you never have to change your clean date. Never change your clean date. Thank God. Thank the universe. I have not. Yes. Thank you so much. Because that first year is the hardest. That first year is the hardest. And it took me a minute to get what they meant by that. I was like, what do they mean by may you never have to do 1 year again? And then I thought about it and I was like, oh, wow. Okay. I get it. Because I know a lot of people that I met in recovery that I was in treatment with, and a lot of them have relapsed. A lot of them have passed away. I have on Facebook 65 friends that are passed away on my friends list. So I have about 400 friends or about 350 friends. So say from about 350 to 400, 65 are no longer living, are no longer with us. And they passed away from ODs. They passed away from drug related. Yeah. Most of them all from ODs. 65 that I was in treatment with, that I saw day in and day out, living in a residential treatment center. Yeah. It's really sad. There was a time where, like, pretty much once a month, I would go on Facebook and it would be another RIP. Now, I have to be honest, it seems like in the past year, there've been a lot less. There's been a lot less occurrences of that in the past year. A lot less. So I don't know if it's possible. I know there was a lot of fentanyl going around. There was fentanyl in the dope, and that was causing people to OD. Maybe there's less fentanyl going around, but I don't think that's the case because I still hear about it. But I do have a lot less friends dropping like flies in the past year because in 2020, it was the most. It was the most in 2020. It was like every other month or every month, it was another RIP on Facebook. And I'd be like, Vin, look, another person. And he even said to me, like, babe, this is unreal. This is really unreal, And it was like 2 or 3 of the people that I was closest with in treatment that passed away. One girl, her name was Danielle, and we were best friends, and she passed. Another one, Alicia, and we were best friends, and she passed. Best friends like every morning, because I went, I went away to long-term treatment. So I went away to a long-term residential treatment center, and the people that I was in treatment with, I became very close to, because you see them in the morning, afternoon, and evening from the minute you wake up until you're ready to go to bed at night. You're never alone, you know? And yeah, it's really unsettling to think that they're no longer with us. I remember every morning waking up and going to find Alicia so that we could have our cigarette together, because we would always share a cigarette every morning because nobody had cigarettes. There was a very expensive cigarettes at one point in Ellenville. They were going for $5 each because they were so hard to come by, because technically it was a non-smoking facility. But the counselors don't go too hard on you if and when they catch you smoking. Although, with all technicalities, it's a non-smoking facility. So there's no designated smoking area, but you have to sneak it. You have to sneak it. And if you get caught, then you get in trouble and you get put on a contract, and they'll have you cleaning the bathrooms every hour on the hour. There's lots of punishments. The treatment style that I chose one that it's basically long-term residential treatment, and they incorporate a lot of the rules of the old school TCs. The old school TCs, the TC stood for a therapeutic community. And these therapeutic communities were intense and extreme. So the style of treatment that I had was pretty intense, and it was not nearly as intense as what they did years ago. Now, years ago, the old school TCs, Seven Swans, it's a birthmark. This is a birthmark. It's called the strawberry patch. It's always there. It's just more pronounced sometimes than others. It is a birthmark. Yeah. I don't really cover it because I kind of like it. I like to be different, you know? But aw, yeah, they call it a strawberry patch. Aw, thanks. I would cover it, but like, I don't know. I like that it makes me different. So like the old school TCs were really intense. There's a documentary on Tubi if you guys want to check out how strict the therapeutic communities were. It's called The Last Stop. It was on Tubi, and it's called The Last Stop. And it shows you how intense and strict the TCs were. And, you know, it's kind of like a similar style to like the wilderness camps that they would send an unruly teen to. It's hardcore. They used to have it, basically, it's like the model of treatments. It's like a modality where they have all of the patients or clients running the joint. So they give you a job. You start there and they give you a job. Even the office workers, even the woman who's answering the phones and doing the computer is a client there. You do One person will do laundry. You could work in the kitchen. Hey, Angelique, welcome. Great to see you, Angelique. How are you? So happy to see you. Thanks. So everybody in the TC, we all had jobs, and like they would joke that, we're running the joint, but we were. So you can get a job in the office. You can get a job in the kitchen. There was a kitchen crew. Kitchen crew was the hardest work there was, and one of the most respectable jobs there was too. There was some perks to it, but you had to be up at 4 a.m. sometimes, and the kitchen crew really were hard workers. I was not a part of the kitchen crew, but I did volunteer in the kitchen for a few months where I was doing dishes and helping with things in the kitchen and cleaning a lot. I did cleaning. I did housekeeping. Housekeeping was my first job. And I was cleaning the bathrooms all the time for the whole treatment center, scrubbing all the toilets. And I didn't mind it at all. They gave you work that they knew would humble you. And sometimes they would assign you a job, not just based on your personality or skill set, but based on what they felt you needed at that time. It's a modality where they have the clients confronting each other on their deficits of character. So if there was another client that saw me flirting with a guy, right? And she's watching me flirting with him, now she's going to turn around and she's going to book me. She's going to book me. She's going to write a ticket that she's going to hand in to the staff. And she's going to say, I saw Tara A. Well, I was A then. That was my maiden name. I saw Tara A talking to Vincent B, flirting with him. And here's her booking slip. And she would hand it in to COD, which was a client on duty. COD was client on duty. And so we were like the staff, we were the office staff, we were the kitchen, the laundry, the housekeeping. We did it all. The only thing that we didn't do was counselors or therapists or, that's it pretty much. There were the counselors and there were us, and every job was taken care of. And yeah, there were no cooks there. And I worried a lot for things like kitchen safety and food safety, because they do train the kitchen crew with a lot of like food safety things, but nothing is being monitored as closely as it would be, if it was a professional kitchen staff. I did worry for that, right? Less to spend on having to hire employees. Exactly. Imagine they couldn't do it if they had to hire a kitchen crew and someone to do laundry and someone to answer the phones. We answered the phones. They even had us overnight. They had us working at the points where they were like every point of entry. So there was no way to get in or out without someone seeing you, basically, so that nobody could just sneak onto the property. So at every point of entry, there was a points person. So basically, they'd be like, Tara, you're on point tonight. And that meant that night you're working overnight. You're staying up all night that night. They had some of us staying up overnights randomly. Randomly, somebody would always have to be a points person to sit at any point of entry so that no one's going in or out. People aren't leaving and coming back, and you're staying there and you're keeping track of everything. And if there's another client that insists on going outside or something, then you have to book them. Nobody can go outside after 10 o'clock at night. Everybody's in for the night. If somebody insists on sneaking out to go smoke a cigarette, it's up to you whether you're going to book them or not. Now, if you want to be cool and not book them, which would be me, I'd be like, oh my God, I can't book them. How am I going to book them? Or say if it's me and Angelique goes out to smoke, and now I'm like, wait, Angelique is my friend. I can't book Angelique, How am I going to book Angelique? But now if I don't do it and somebody else saw Angelique go out to smoke, now they're booking me and her. So they make you turn on each other, but they have you telling on each other as well. Friendly girl. Oh my God, I miss you. I miss you so much, friendly girl. Thank you. How many years? 4 years for me, Booker. Angelique, it's so good to see you. Friendly girl, I can't wait for September. We'll have a little gathering for you if you like. You could message me and we'll set something up in September. Oh my God, yes. We'll have a little party for you. We'll have a little party. Let me know when in September and message me. Yeah, and we'll stay on top of that. We'll have a little party. 4 years. I love it. Thanks. So it's, they have you turning on each other. So you also feel like you can't get too close to anybody in treatment, and you never know who to trust. And you know that even your friends are not exactly your friends. But I got in trouble more often for not booking people in the beginning. I got in a lot of trouble for not because I wouldn't book anybody. But then they'd be like, well, we can never have Tara be a point person. She's going to let everybody. And so then I started wanting to have that sense of responsibility. Once I realized that they would never count on me as a responsible person, then I kind of wanted that, because I was like, look, they won't even trust me. But, in time, I became comfortable with it, and I did it just like, to the minimal, minimal amounts of bookings, but I did like just whatever I had to do to get by. And also, just like on a respectable level, like I would tell somebody before, please don't go outside, because I don't want to have to book you. Please, I really don't want to have to book you. And if you do, then like I'm going to. I would let them know at least. I wouldn't just sit there and smile in their face, and then they would find out later on that I booked them. I would tell them, I'm sorry, but I'm booking you. Yeah. It was a whole big thing. Oh, I'm so glad, friendly girl. Every year is a huge accomplishment. Every day is an accomplishment. Every day really is an accomplishment. And every year, when we think about how far that we've come and how much we've accomplished in our lives, and how we've been there for our children, our friends, our family, our spouses, strangers, the times that we've been available to help strangers, even that we would not have been any use to anybody when we were actively using. Absolutely. It's something that I hope that I can get the word out. If and anybody wants to share this video, feel free to share it on your personal Facebook, on your TikTok, anywhere. I'm not ashamed at all. I'm very proud to share my message, and I want it to get out there to anybody that might need it. You never know. You might have a personal family member or friends that's going through it, struggling, and you just don't know. And I believe that, there is that light at the end of the tunnel, and sometimes you just have to look for it. You have to look for it. And sometimes it's not just going to show on its own, but once you open up your eyes and start squinting a little bit, and if you can't see it, squint a little bit harder. Squint a little bit harder. Because it's there. Keep looking. Keep looking. It's there. I'm telling you, it's there. Like, I get passionate about it because it's crazy to think. Opal. Hey, girl. Hey. Thank you so much, Opal. Oh, friendly girl, your mom just went to rehab. Oh, my God. Oh, wow. I hope that's life-changing for her and for you. That's amazing. Is that something that she's went through before? Oh, wow. I hope that that turns out to be life-changing, because it can be, it can be absolutely life-changing. It really can be. To think that today I have 8 years clean, and my drug of choice was opiates and benzos, and then the big H. Yeah. I really, things could have ended for me badly a long time ago, and my daughter would not have had a mother, and I never would have gotten married to Vinny. We just got married in 2020. I wouldn't have been married. My daughter has had me for the past 8 years, but imagine if she didn't, she would have been growing up without a mom. Like my beautiful daughter that I waited my whole life to have. I dreamed of having a daughter my whole life. And I always said to myself, like, I prayed that I wished that I would have this daughter. And I said to myself, I probably won't get a girl, because God knows that I really would like a girl. So I just want a healthy baby. And I'm sure God isn't going to give me exactly what I'm asking for. But sure enough, he did. And he gave me a girl with blonde hair and blue eyes. And she was just everything I could have possibly wished for. And then what did I do was that I turned around and um, walked out of the hospital with the Percocet prescription. And within a couple of weeks, went back to my old habits. I was able to stop popping pills while I was pregnant. I stopped. Of course, thank God, not of course, because some people are not able to stop during their pregnancies. And I don't believe in looking down on that either, because I understand addiction. However, God, God really worked miracles for me. When I found out I was pregnant, I had just a couple of pills left, and I took them, and then that was the end of it. Yeah, that was the end of it for 8 months. Then afterwards, I left the hospital after a C-section, and I just went back to old habits very quickly. And I felt like they were helping me. They were giving me energy that I needed with a newborn. I felt like I wasn't having that energy to get up out of bed and make the bottles and do all the things. And they were helping give me that motivation and that energy. Yeah, I did, Opal. I sure did. Thank you. I did. Yes, Seven Swans. You know, that day of, hey, Shkay. Shkay. It's me. Hey, girl. Hey. That is you. It's me, right? I think that's you. I recognize your face, girly. How's it going? I'm glad to see you. Guys, as you come in, please hit the like button. Please hit the thumbs up. It helps my channel, and I really, really appreciate it if you would. Thank you. And please subscribe. Ash K. Okay. I said Shkay. Oh, I figured it was Shkay. I'm so crazy. I always like assume that it's like something that's not. Oh, I did awesome. I did really good, friendly girl. Yes. And I did. I did. I took the pain meds. I didn't refuse them. I didn't refuse them. I was going to, and I told them I just wanted minimal pain meds. Minimal pain meds, like less than what you would give the average person, but still enough to take away my pain so that I was comfortable. And I took minimal pain meds, and I did go home with a prescription. It was a prescription for, I think, 8 Percocets, and I took them for a couple of days, and then that was it. Yeah, and I was totally fine with it. Totally fine with it. As long as you take it the right way, only as prescribed, and just for a couple of days, minimal. After you're in recovery for about a year or so, I would say most people should be okay. Yeah. I was terrified of them. Terrified. Terrified. So much so that even I told my husband, like, I feel like this counts almost like a slip, like as if now when May 10th comes, like I have to say that I don't have 8 years because of that one time that I took the pain medication. And he was like, no, no, that's crazy. And I know that an AA sponsor would tell me the same. It's absolutely insane to say that that takes away from your recovery. It does not. It does not take away from your recovery at all. If you have a surgery, if you have a major surgery and you take minimal pain meds only as prescribed for a few days, that's not a slip or anything. That's just following doctor's orders after a major abdominal surgery. Yeah. The doctors told me that it would have been a bad idea to try to skip pain meds whatsoever. So I said, all right, just minimal, please, because I'm terrified. And I let all of them know. Anytime I ever see a doctor, I always let them know I'm a person in recovery from substance use disorder. And I always tell them flat off the bat so that they could all mark it in their books. I want it to be known. It's very important to let your doctors know that you're a person in recovery from substance use disorder. You have to let your doctors know. Yeah. Oh, friendly girl. And you took them correctly and did just fine. And I was so proud of myself. I love it. I love it. I was really afraid, really, really afraid. But if you take them the right way, yeah. I was terrified though. Or to think of how did I come to be in recovery, right? So I still have to get to the gist of how bad things got because we haven't gotten there. So far, we've only revisited kind of the good times. Now let's think about how bad things got for me that I came to be in recovery. Because if things had always stayed fun and good, then I wouldn't have been in recovery. I wouldn't have had to change. Oh yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure, and a whole past history would come up once they put in your name. But it's good to be honest and proud of you. Yeah. I am that proud too that I like to always tell them, because like in the past, I know that I would have been like, maybe if I don't let all my doctors know that I'm in recovery, then if I ask for pain meds, just like the way that the wheels start turning. So I just like to completely get it out of the way. Yes, friendly girl. Got sober with a medicated assisted program, meaning I used methadone to get off and it worked for me. And yes, of course, that is sober. That is absolutely sober. Everybody has a different pathway to recovery, and like there's no right or wrong, and you can't tell somebody when they're in recovery. I don't have the right to tell you about your recovery, just like you're not going to tell me about mine. Absolutely. And medication assisted recovery has saved many, many lives. Many lives. Absolutely. I don't see anything wrong with that. Everybody's recovery looks different, and everyone's journey to recovery is different. Exactly. We all have the ones of us that are in recovery, we all have a certain recovery story. Yeah. So let's think of how bad things got for me in order for me to come to be in recovery. So, like, I say after I got home from the hospital with her, and then I got back into it with the Percocet and everything. Okay, about a year later, um, we were getting evicted from our apartments. Vinny was working, but of course, I couldn't pay for my habits, much less pay for my habits and the rent and everything else. So we were being evicted from our apartment. And, so in my head, I was completely disgusted with him. I felt like it was all his fault. If he had a better job that could have paid for my habit and our rent, it wouldn't have been a problem. And, I was furious with him. And so from that point on, I was kind of like determined to um to ruin that relationship as well, and to make him pay for it and to make him suffer. I said, well, I'm going to make him pay for this, definitely going to make him pay. And I felt real evil about it too, because I couldn't believe it. I felt like he was leaving us to be homeless, and I couldn't see my part in the story. I couldn't see my part that I played of being responsible for it. And all that I saw was that he's the man, he's the provider. If he ain't providing, well, then, right. So, I mean, it's possible that if he had a better job, he could have maybe afforded the rent, but the rent and my habits are very, very expensive. And I would make it known it was a priority that he had to get me everything that I needed for the day before we could even pay our bills or our rent. And I was, I think, 27 or 28 years old at the time. So I was young. I was 27 or 28. And, we had Evelyn. Evelyn was about 1 year old, and we're getting evicted from that apartment. And so, uh, what happened was we knew we were going to be evicted, and we were just kind of waiting on the sheriff to come, knowing that we were evicted with nowhere to go. And we were not making plans for where we are going to go when that happened. So we were like preparing for some doomsday event. And I know he packed a duffel bag for himself. And I got furious that he was like preparing for this. Of where are we going to go, though? And so then I packed a small suitcase with some clothes, just like an outfit or two for myself and for Evelyn, clothing for both of us, emergency toiletries, toothbrush, and stuff. But we were packing emergency bags, but we didn't know where we would be going. And we weren't devising a plan either. Like, I couldn't devise any plan, and I felt I couldn't believe that he wasn't going to. Um, so we were waiting. We had gotten the eviction notice on our door, and we knew that it was just going to be the sheriff's office coming to kick us out. We just didn't know where we were going to go, nor did we devise a plan or talk about it. We talked about how we were probably going to be evicted, but not about where we would really go or what we we're really going to do. So finally, that morning came that the sheriff came to the door, and we had to get out. Thank God I did pack that small bag, and he had a small bag with just clothes. It was time to go. So I called my dad, crying hysterical, and begged him, can we come live with you? Now, thankfully, it was a two-family house, and he was able to say the upstairs was empty. He wasn't renting to anybody at that time, and he was able to say, "Come live upstairs from me, and you guys can live in the upstairs apartments until you figure something out and get on your feet." But like he knew as well as I did that we weren't going to be getting on our feet anytime soon, because in that 1 year that we were living in that apartment while Evelyn was a baby, like things were just getting worse and worse for me. So like my addiction was progressed pretty bad, and my dad knew that it was something with me, but he wasn't sure exactly what it was. And I started going to a pain management clinic because I had to keep getting these pills. So I was going to a pain management clinic, and then I was going to two different psychiatrists, and I was getting all different prescriptions, and then I was selling them. I was selling some of them and taking the rest, and then I would sell them to get other things. It was, it got to be bad. So now we're living in an apartment upstairs from my dad. And my dad and I had like a decent relationship, but it wasn't great. It was never great. I was always much closer to my mom. And like I was never really that close to my dad. And then after my mom passed, my dad got a girlfriend very quickly within a few months and moved her in. And they're still together to this day. She's now my stepmom. They actually just got married last month. She's now my stepmother. And I love her. She's great. But at the time, I was furious. And he met this woman 5 months after my mom passed and moved her into the house with us where I still lived at home. So it was really uncomfortable. And I'll never fully forgive him for that. It is what it is. It is what it is. Part of me feels the energy of my mom's energy, and feels slighted and insulted and as if he's cheating on her, and I'll never fully get over it. The other part of me loves my stepmom, wants my dad to be happy, sees that he was not a man who wanted to be alone in life, and understands male female relationships for what it is. But, there's still that part of me that is just like, you know, iffy about it. But regardless of that, now we're living upstairs from my dad, and I did not want to be living upstairs from my dad. I didn't, but I should have appreciated the situation, because where we were then was a million trillion times better than where we are now. And Evelyn would have been going to a great school, the same school that I went to when I was younger. She would have been going to the same schools that I went to. She would have been living in a beautiful neighborhood, and she would have had grandpa right downstairs. But I couldn't take it. I didn't want to be living upstairs from my dad, and I didn't want him to know what I was doing. I didn't want him to know what was actually going on. And then to hear the fighting every day, he would hear me and Vinny fighting because he was right downstairs. He would hear us going at it, and he would hear us fighting. And then I would call him and be like, "Can you please lend me $10 or something?" It's like obvious, really obvious. And it must have been obvious what I was on and what was going on. And like, I just didn't want to be there. It's unfortunate because like I said, it was unfortunate because the living situation was so much better than here. But it is what it is. Things got the worst for me that they ever got living in that apartment. It's sad because that's where my grandparents lived. I didn't like respect I feel like I should have respected the house more. I should have been like respectful of the fact that my mom lived in that apartment as a teenager, like in that house. It was a two-family house. But my grandma had 10 kids. And at one point it was my grandma, grandpa, and all 10 of them up there with one bathroom. And I feel like I should have respected that, and I just didn't. Um, I really didn't want to be upstairs with my dad, and I was so mad at Vinny at that point that I just looked at him in total disgust. I didn't think I could ever fully be with him again and actually not be disgusted with him. I thought, all right, well, things are not going to work out with me and Vinny because I will never look at him the same way again. And whenever I look at him, I'll always be full of rage. Um, So things got the worst for me ever in that apartment. Uh, I felt like I wanted to make him uncomfortable, and I did. I heard him sufficiently. I heard him sufficiently. And things got terrible. And eventually, ACS had to be called into the picture. It was probably my stepmom that called them just to be nosy, and you know, ACS got involved in the picture. And once ACS was called, they could see clearly that something was not fully right, and they probably saw that it was me. We think that we're hiding it so much when we're active in our addiction. We think that nobody can tell, that nobody would ever know, but we're not. It's obvious. You can't hide that. You can't hide it. Somebody knows, and you're not hiding it. So when ACS got involved, I'm sure they saw that the problem was with me. Yeah. And that was when something had to change. That was when, like, okay, it's something's gonna go down now. So basically, things got so bad that Vinny had to leave with Evelyn. Um, Now, if I was more mature, I would have turned around and said, well, I'll leave, but it was my dad's house. No way I was leaving. He was the one that left us homeless. This was all his fault in my head. In my head, this was all his fault. So I had such resentment towards him that all I wanted to do was hurt him and uproot his life and make his life as hard as possible. And so when ACS suggested that he leave with Evelyn, I said, well, good idea, because I ain't leaving. And I wouldn't have. It was my dad's house. I wouldn't have left it. Not for him. I mean, I know it would have been for Evelyn, but in my head, it would have been for him. And that was never going to happen. I wanted to see him suffer. And so, in my head, I was like, maybe we can reconcile, but only if he suffers sufficiently first. And so ACS suggested that he take Evelyn and leave. And I said, all right, well, that's a great idea. And so then he left with Evelyn, and I was there by myself, and I got a girlfriend, and she moved in with me. And she was not using, like, she was a person that had been involved in substances, and she was on Suboxone. But she did misuse it. She misused it. Like, she would take two at the same time and then be nodding out and be high as a kite from Suboxone. And I didn't know it was possible to get high like that from that. But she would take two of them and just be like nodding out for the night. And she would only take them every other day. So she would skip a day. So she would always put 24 hours in between. And so, like, she was misusing it, but she also wasn't doing anything else. So, it was interesting. But so he's gone. And now I felt like, all right, I could totally give up on life because he left with Evelyn. And I couldn't really believe that it was true. But at the same time, I knew it was, because my daughter wasn't living with me anymore. And I was not okay with that. I was not okay with that. I wasn't going to let him know that. So now I have this girlfriend, and she had a car. So that was like the way that we were able to scheme and maneuver and manipulate things and get money was with her car. So we had our whole gas station thing going, where she would drive the car with like very little gas in it, not a lot of gas. And we would get to a gas station and stop the car, and like I would go out and talk to people, and I would tell them this whole story that we were drinking in a bar, and we were from Staten Island or something, and somebody stole my purse, and I had the tickets, or the things for the toll, and I had money in it, and they stole my purse, and we had no money for gas. We had no money to pay the toll. We were stranded, and we're telling them that we lived in Staten Island because it was like a $20 fee for the toll. So I didn't want them to just give me a few dollars for gas. I wanted them to give me at least $20. So I came up with the story about the toll and living in Staten Island. And, it worked, or at least people felt bad enough for me that they pretended to believe me and give me money. Like, a lot of people either fell for it or didn't fall for it at all and just felt bad for me. But I got a decent amount of money from people at the gas station telling them that story like several times. I don't know how it worked. Not that I'm giving anybody ideas. Please don't. Please do not take any stories that I tell you and try to recreate them. Definitely not a good idea. Not meant to be giving anybody any ideas, but that was awful. And so we tried to think of whatever. We used to go into like Rite Aid, and we would steal things. And well, she would steal. I couldn't steal it. I would get caught. I knew I would get caught and I would have been arrested. I never did it. I would have been caught. I don't get away with things. I'm like very obvious. So we would go into a Rite Aid or a CVS. And she would steal something and then go up to the return counter and return it. Or I'm not sure exactly how she did it. This was back in 2015, mind you, so things were different. But I remember her going to steal something and then returning it. Um, Oftentimes walking out with something and then returning it. It was just a whole big thing. Also, we would sometimes take things that we already had in the house that like my dad would buy for us. It was like he would buy us toiletries and stuff from time to time. And I remember taking them back to the store without a receipt and getting like a refund or store credit, and then we would take the store credit and buy a gift card. We were very sneaky about it, very, very sneaky about it. Addicts are very creative people and some of the most resourceful people you will ever meet in your life. We are like MacGyver, we are like MacGyver in any situation. We will figure it out. Where there's a will, there's a way. So yeah, the way that we were like making ends meet was just doing all this shady, underhanded stuff. And then pretty much doctor shopping and selling prescriptions and stuff. And things got so bad with me and her, you know. That was when I really wanted to give up on life, because Vinny had been gone with Evelyn for a full year, a whole year that he was gone with Evelyn, maybe even 2 years. It was 1 or 2 years that he was gone with Evelyn. I think it was from 20, no, it was 1 year, 2014 to 2015. And then, oh, it was a year and a half, because it was May 10th of 2016 that I said, F this, enough is enough. I'm actually going to try to stop all this. And it was the first time in my life that I ever, ever, ever even considered changing my lifestyle to eliminate substances. From the age of like 12 on, every day of my life had substances in it. From the age of 12 on, from 12 years old, it was pot, cigarettes, and coffee, and alcohol sometimes. And then 13, it was tripping, and then cocaine and ecstasy. I never got into other things. Uppers weren't really my thing, and I was afraid of needles. So I snorted it, but probably if I had used needles, I probably would not be alive today, I'm sure. It's just a lot to think of how things got bad enough that I actually considered going away to a hospital, like for treatment. It was like I knew there wasn't going to be any other option for me in life. Things got really bad towards the end, the last few months. I remember taping. It was like I didn't even have curtains. I had vertical blinds, and I taped a dark purple bed sheet, a flat dark purple bed sheet with Scotch tape in all four corners. In all two corners, I think, both corners, not the bottom. And so I taped that dark purple bed sheet over the blinds so that the sun wouldn't come in. And the reason why the sun coming in bothered me was what was most disturbing. And every night I would watch the sun go down, and I would say a prayer to God that I wouldn't have to see it come back up ever again. And I said that prayer every night for a couple of months. For a good 3 months, every night when I watched that sun go down, I said a prayer and I begged God to never let me have to watch the sun come back up. And now I pray to God every night that I will see the sun come up in the morning. Now I beg, please, for as many sunrises as I can possibly get. I would love to have as many sunrises as possible. I look forward to them now. And I used to not want it. It was the worst thing in the world when I would see that sun coming up in the morning. It was the feeling of, I can't believe that I have to go through a whole nother day like this, because 24 hours was unbearable and every 24 hours was worse than the next. And there was no hope in sight. Vinny wasn't saying that like maybe we're going to get back together and that he was going to come live with me and bring Evelyn back to me or something. Hell no. And I couldn't see any end. I couldn't see any end in sight. I couldn't imagine how this was going to end. It was like I was watching a movie of Tara, and I was wondering what's going to happen to Tara next. How will things end for Tara? What's going to happen to her? Just floating through life as if I had zero control or input in the outcome. It's really, really sad to me to think that I was just willing to give up, and I felt there was only one way that was going to be out of it. And now I thank God. I don't know how it happens. I woke up on May 10th feeling just as in dire straits as I did every day for the past few months. And I woke up that day and I was sick. I was in withdrawals. I was in cold sweats, and I didn't have my stuff for like 2 days, 48 hours. I was in bad withdrawals. And I looked around. I noticed that my girlfriend left. I noticed that her and all of her stuff was gone. So I thought, all right, she'll be back. She's just playing around. She left while I was sleeping. While I was sleeping, she packed her stuff and left. And she didn't just pack her stuff, but we had cats, and she took the cats with her. She took the cats. So I was like, wait a minute, their water dishes are gone. Their litter boxes are gone. What the hell? That's because she's not coming back. So she was gone for, it was another 2 days. I went through the first 4 days of withdrawal, I think, on my own. I was probably almost done. I almost kicked the withdrawals by the time I finally went to the hospital. It was almost 4 days because she was gone for at least a day and a half before I finally left the house. And I begged my dad for a pack of cigarettes because I didn't have cigarettes. I didn't have anything. I didn't have food. I didn't have nothing. I was used to having nothing. I felt like that would always be it for me. I would never have anything. I felt like I was always going to be a low life. I didn't have any hope for anything better. And I gave up. I had lost all self-pride. I used to consider myself to always be beautiful and, respectable and trustworthy. And I was no longer any of those things. Got really, really bad. And so that morning I called Vinny. Of course, because he's my person, he's my person. I called him and I said, Vin, Allie left and she's gone, and so are the cats. And I don't think she's coming back. She took the cats with her. And she was helping provide me with everything, like I always had somebody doing a lot of stuff for me. I was like a very codependent person. I couldn't go to doctors. I was never a person that went to doctor's appointments on my own. I always needed somebody with me with all of my appointments, or grocery shopping. I just needed help with certain things, and that was always me. So me being completely alone was not going to work out. Even if I was probably sober at that time, it wouldn't have been an option. But me being all by myself was definitely not going to work out, because I couldn't get my stuff. and I couldn't figure out how to get money on my own. Like, we worked as a team, and she also had a job. She had a regular job that she brought me her paycheck every week, and then we schemed and manipulated and maneuvered on top of that. So I knew that on my own was not going to work, and I called him and I said, then, well, what am I going to do now? And now don't forget, he is with Evelyn alone right now, because they couldn't be around me pretty much because I was raging drug addict. And I'm asking him, what do I do? Like, seriously, what am I supposed to do now? Like, I'm sick, I don't feel well, I'm in withdrawals. And I confessed to him what I was doing, and he didn't know the extent of it. He thought that it was pills only. He didn't know how bad things really got. And I confessed to him just how bad things progressed, and how I was all alone now. And I remember saying, this is so messed up. I'm a human being. I'm a human being. I'm not an animal. I feel like I'm an animal in a cage and all this stuff. And I was like, I'm not an animal. I'm a human being. And I felt like I deserved better treatment than this. But I wasn't seeing that I was the only one that could give it to myself. I was so angry at the world and at him and at her. I felt like they both screwed me over and left me with nothing. I deserve better treatment than this. I deserve a provider who's going to give me all the drugs. And, basically, like, as if this is bullshit. Like, bullshit. I call bullshit. This is bullshit. You're supposed to be supporting me, and like, you just left me just left me. And like, part of me was more disgusted with that. And he was telling me, like, Tara, you're gonna have to leave. Like, you're gonna have to leave the apartment and call for an ambulance and go to the hospital and tell them that you're sick and you're in withdrawal, and they'll help you. Tell them that you want treatment and that you're an addict and you want help and you want to get your life together and you can't, and you're sick. And I couldn't call for an ambulance. I didn't have the balls to. I couldn't do it. And thankfully, there was a mental health clinic right around the corner from me that I used to go to all the time when I was in my early 20s and my late teens. So I was familiar with the clinic. And I went there. I was right around the corner. And he was like, just tell them everything and they'll help you, And I went there and I was crying, and I just said, I'm a drug addict and I need help. Please help me. Yeah. And they sent me to the hospital, and they had me on methadone the first 2 days. And then they sent me to a detox, and it was like 5 to 7 days in detox. And then after that, they gave me the option if I wanted to go home or go to a 28-day rehab. And I said, well, I want to do the 28-day rehab because I knew I couldn't leave after a week and then go back home to the apartment upstairs from my dad, which was completely trashed. I was not washing dishes. I was not doing laundry. I was not cleaning the floors. Those floors hadn't been cleaned in like 2 years. I hadn't done dishes in forever. Every bowl, spoon, fork, glass, everything that I had was in the sink dirty. I had an old crock pot that I made like a beef stew in or something that was still just like the remnants of the stew was still in the crock pot. Like, it was just nastiness. I was living in complete nastiness. And I didn't have my daughter, so I gave up on life. I said, well, Evelyn's not here. So, this is just like, we're going to go all in, like, off the deep end. It's all or nothing. And, I feel bad. Like, the girlfriend that I was with was delusional. She was delulu enough that she was thinking that this was like a relationship and we were going to be together and get married and have children of our own and stuff. But she couldn't see that I was a hopeless person, and I needed help. And I just needed help. Yeah. Not in my right frame of mind. She, I guess, couldn't see that. But I'm thankful that she left, because if she didn't take off and leave and she stayed with me, I don't know how much longer I would have went on. I wouldn't have gotten clean on May 10th of 2016 if she didn't leave. I'm really, really grateful to her that she left. That was the best thing that she could have done for me. That was the one favor that she really did for me. That was not selfish, not selfish just because like she wanted to be with me and we could stay together. But she knew this girl needs help, and the only way she's going to get it is if I'm not here. Like I needed to hit rock bottom. And as long as I had someone around me helping me, I always had an enabler. So the person I was with, I would convince them to get me whatever I needed every day. As long as I had an enabler around me, I was never going to get help. Well, I don't see anybody in my chat. I think my chat is frozen, you guys. Or is it just no one in chat? Okay, it's no one in chat. Oh my God, you guys, I'm sorry. My chat was frozen. Sorry, my chat was frozen for a long time. I thought nobody was chatting. I'm sorry. Ash K, Opal. So sad. I've been single 11 years. My husband passed away. 2 brothers and lots of friends. Opal. I'm so sorry for your losses. I'm just getting to the chat now. I'm sorry, guys. I just figured no one was chatting, so. Blame it on everyone except myself. Yeah. Well, I couldn't see like any responsibility for living a normal life with me, because I was like, well, how could I live a normal life? Vinny, who was like, I considered him my husband, but we weren't married. We were together. Vinny and I started dating in 2001. And we were only separated for like those 2 years in between, like the end of 2013 or 14 up until, 2016. So almost 3 years. About 3 years we were separated. Shortly into my recovery is when we got back together. So yeah, I went on May 10th. So this time 8 years ago, I was in the detox in the hospital. And I'm so grateful to all of the staff that I met at the hospital. There was this awesome PCT. She was like a nurse lady, and she would come in at night. She worked at like the overnight shifts, and she would come in, and she knew that I was also quitting smoking cigarettes because I had the patch, because when you're in a rehab, you can't smoke cigarettes. So at least not in New York. And I really wanted to find one where you could smoke, because I said, well, that's going to be impossible. Now, how am I supposed to work on getting off the drugs if I can't smoke a cigarette? Like, you can't expect this of me. And it is a little bit unreasonable, in a way, that it would be nice if there was rehabs where you could smoke. And I'm sure there is, just not in New York, or at least not that I knew of. But to think 8 years clean, I never would have thought this was possible. Never. I don't know how I came to believe. I don't know how I came to believe that it was possible. So the way that I say it is like, when I was on the phone with Vinny that day, it was almost like my higher power or the universe or God, goddess, whatever it is, was speaking through him to me to give me that message, to tell me, you have to go. Like, you have to get out of that house and go away. And I'm thankful that, like, after the 28-day rehab, I went away for a long time. I was in rehab for over a year. I was in residential treatment for, I think, like 15 months. So 15 months, over a year that I was in residential treatment. And then after that, I was in a sober living house for 4 months, or 5 months, 4 or 5 months. It was a little under 2 years altogether, just a little under 2 years. And then on May 18th, it was a long time. Yeah. It was from May 10th of 2016 that I was in the hospital. And then I did residential treatment for a whole year, a little bit longer than a year. And then I did the sober living house. Yeah. So, and then I came out of sober living and I moved in here with Vinny and Evelyn on May 18th of 2018. So it was exactly 2 years, almost exactly 2 years, from May 10th of 2016 is when I got clean. And then I moved in here on May 18th of 2018. Always in May. Something about the spring makes me always want to change and improve myself and just do better in life. Fresh beginnings in spring, you know? So spring has been an inspirational time for me for a long time now. Isn't that hot shit? Crazy, right? But I really just wanted to be able to share that with you guys. That's pretty much it. That's my story and I'm sticking to it. That's the main gist of it. I'm probably going to wrap this up here. You guys, thank you so much for sticking with me. Please hit the thumbs up if you've enjoyed this and consider subscribing to my channel. I would really appreciate it. Please subscribe and hit that thumbs up if you're so inclined. I love you guys very much, and I'm so grateful to have a little tiny space here on YouTube that I can share my experience, strength, and hope with you guys. It is my honor and my privilege, and I will forever be grateful. I love you guys. I'm here for y'all. Anything that I can do, let me know. I will see y'all on the flip side. Thanks, guys.